Hey folks, Dr. Rob Jones here, heydrrob.com. If you watch my previous videos, we've been talking about actually how to ameliorate or how to fix if you actually have a disc issue, if you're getting some sciatica. Again, look back at previous videos if you want to see the symptoms. Okay, you may have pain running down your leg, you may not, you may just have pain in your lower back. But we went in through those main steps, getting on the ground, doing some extensions, doing side glides. Again, watch the previous video so you can know the sequence. This video is kind of part 2 of what to do if you do have that disc problem. Contrary to what you're going to see all over the internet, and you're probably going to even see in some offices, doctors, PTs, massage clinics. I have patients every day. I had one today whose physical therapist with a disc had her pulling her knees to her chest. Okay, this is a patient with an active disc. You don't want to flex the spine. Remember, lordosis, okay? Bending with lordosis, not sitting and dropping back and losing lordosis. That is the mechanism that causes a disc injury. If you flex it, if you lose lordosis, you're going to change that hydraulic pressure. Out comes the disc. You may get a little temporary relief because of some muscle stretch, but again, symptoms of the disc. Okay, so let's say hypothetically you've gone through the extension protocols, you feel better. Now this is part 2. This is how do we start to move a little bit better? What are some things to do if we're sitting and getting some pain? And maybe even some exercise to get us stronger, some stretches to get us looser. Again, all with spine sparing in mind. Okay, so a lot of my disc patients talk about how they have pain sitting. Again, that's one of the telltales. Again, if you have pain sitting, probably some sort of disc process. So I kind of made this move up for myself while I was driving. I'm going to show it to you sitting first. If you're sitting in a movie, if you're sitting in a conference, if you're sitting in a classroom, somewhere where you don't have the ability to stand up and do extensions, go for a walk, or get on the ground and do extensions, you can do what I call a seated extensions, or seated extension, excuse me. Grab your knees, make sure your chest is up, and what you're going to do is you're going to do a nice pull this way to leverage your pelvis and your sacrum forward. And what we're going to do is pull, 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 pull. We're going to push that spine forward and then come back. We're not going to go all the way back because again, we'll lose lordosis. We're changing hydraulic pressure. We're pulling that disc back in. Again, if you're stuck in a sitting position, you cannot get up. This is going to be your go-to. If you have some pain in your butt, which I get a lot driving, okay? I'll get a little pain in my glute here. That's my disc irritating my sciatic nerve a little bit. I'll basically grab the bottom of my steering wheel, use it as leverage, pull myself back, and I'll go as many reps as it takes for that sciatic nerve to calm down because the disc is pulling back in, less pressure on the nerve from the disc, and guess what? Less pain down your leg. So what we're going to do is as many reps as it takes to get that pain feeling better. And then keeping yourself in a good lordotic position, propping yourself up like we've talked about in previous videos. If you're driving, recline back a little bit more. If you're sitting at home on the couch, same protocols. Okay, so again, here, pulling in with as many reps in order to pull that disc back in. So if we use the spine model here, basically what you're doing is you're just grabbing your knees and you're basically forcing that spine into extension, just like doing extensions while you're prone, and it's going to pull that disc back in. So you will notice the pain will leave your butt, it will loosen up your back, and you'll feel quite a bit better. Okay, so that's taking care of sitting. Now, we have to continue to move properly, just like we do with flexion intolerance, okay? Because, hey, I'm feeling great now, let's go and do some yard work. Well, you can go do some yard work if you're in less pain. I wouldn't recommend lifting anything too heavy yet, but you have to move properly or that disc is coming back out. So again, all the same protocols. Kick your leg back, do a hip hinge, go into a lunge, okay? All those same things. But what happens if you do have to maybe manage something that's a little heavier and you're really not feeling that good? Well, you can continue to do your extension work, okay? In between sessions of extension, like we talked about, you can do them every 30 minutes to an hour. You really want to use that good core brace that we've talked about on previous videos. And I'm going to review this again really quickly. I want you to remember, and I want you to think of your core brace as never sucking your belly button back towards your spine, okay? Wrong information, old information. It does not brace the core, okay? What you want to do is you want to create a 360-degree bracing all the way around the spine, and you do that by tensioning the core. If you dig your fingers in just above your belt line here and cough, you can see my fingers pushing outward. That's tension now. And what that is doing, just like this balloon here, is creating a bubble of air in your intra-abdominal area, creating tension in your abs, your obliques, your posterior stabilizer of your spine. And now you've got this nice bracing mechanism from the front and back, holding your spine still. It won't move. You can brace. You can move through your hips. Now your spine is protected. So keeping that in mind, you can go ahead and start doing some of your activities of daily living. But remember, as the load increases, the need for more bracing increases. So again, after you've done some extension work, try to get in some walking. In a real life scenario where you have young children, or you have to do some work on your job or in your yard and you have to do that work, you don't have a choice, you really need to be mindful of bracing this and moving properly, okay? So another thing that I haven't mentioned previously is people talk about how they have pain when they rotate, okay? We know the disc doesn't like to rotate as well, so I went over this with a patient today. I call it glute catching, okay? And it's not like you're grabbing your butt. It's not that kind of glute catching. It's feeling the glute catch so you know you're indicating to yourself that you're moving through your hip. And what that means is this. If I have to move forward and in this direction, I'm going to want to try to pivot this foot on the ground. We call it squishing the bug. Okay, squish the bug and move through this hip. And you can see now my pelvis and my rib cage is basically moving as one unit. If I go in this direction, we're going to squish the bug here. We've got a little brace. Pelvis and rib cage are moving in that direction. You're going to know you're moving correctly when you go forward, as we talked about before, if you feel a stretch through here. It's a nice hip hinge. But if I have to go in this direction, what I'm going to utilize is this leg to catch my body weight and that glute to hold me. So from this perspective, if I have to go to my left, we're going to do a little squish the bug on the right. We're going to turn through this hip. This hip is actually going to go back behind me just a little bit, and I can feel that glute grab me. And even with a sore back, all the patients do this and it won't hurt them. Push the heel into the ground, you can feel that glute catching you. Now you can do what you need to do on this side. If we're going to go the other direction, it's the exact same thing. Brace your core a little bit, squish the bug, push this hip back in that direction, feel for it to grab and catch. Now your glute is set. You have nice load, you push into your heel, and now you can do your work here. So if you work in a factory, or if you work at a desk in a retail situation where you have to flex and reach, this is your positioning. Squish the bug, glute catch to your left heel. Again, always braced. Going to your right, squish the bug, right heel, glute catch to your right, okay? And as you become proficient at these movements, you can do it quicker and quicker and quicker, and you're not going to hurt. It's that simple. Again, keeping the spine stable. Okay, so again, bracing the core, proper movement. Now, let's talk about some stretching, because people tend to feel tight, of course, because they maybe have not been moving very well. So if you go back to my previous spine-sparing stretching videos, if you have flexion tolerance, you can do all of those same stretches and you won't damage that disc, okay? You can do your hip flexor stretches, you can do your quadricep stretches, you can do your seated glute stretches, okay? This sort of situation. You can do your hamstring stretches. All of that by having nice mobility through your hip area. Again, not stretching this is going to help you feel a ton better. Again, so to recap, you do your extension work to get you out of pain. You really have to utilize your bracing thereafter. You make proper movements, do your glute catching, okay? Getting dressed the way we talked about in previous videos, holding on to something, keeping your foot up here so you can put your underwear and pants on, not double flexing this way. Because again, like my patient I mentioned in the previous video who blew his back because he was putting on his underwear, we don't want to do that. If you make these habits the new normal, you won't be a back patient, okay? Takes a little bit of work, takes a little bit of effort, but if you do it enough, it will become the new normal and you won't hurt. Okay, so until next time, leave me a comment, go ahead and subscribe so you get all the latest information, hit me up on socials, and again, don't forget the most important thing, don't forget to protect your back.